And our reading this morning is in Luke chapter 23. Then the whole company of them arose and brought him before Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, "We found this man misleading our nation and forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar, and saying that he himself is Christ, a king." And Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And he answered him, "You have said so." And Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no guilt in this man." But they were urgent, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee even to this place." When Pilate heard this, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And when he learned that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him over to Herod, who was himself in Jerusalem at that time. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad, for he had long desired to see him because he had heard about him, and he was hoping to see some sign done by him. So he questioned him at some length, but he made no answer. The chief priests and the scribes stood by, vehemently accusing him, and Herod with his soldiers treated him with contempt and mocked him. Then arraying him in splendid clothing, he sent him back to Pilate. Herod and Pilate became friends with each other that very day, for before this they had been in enmity with each other. Pilate then called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who is misleading the people. And after examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of your charges against him. Neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving death has been done by him. I will therefore punish and release him." But they all cried out together, "Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas," a man who had been thrown into prison for an insurrection started in the city and for murder. Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Jesus, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" A third time he said to them, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found in him no guilt deserving death. I will therefore punish and release him." But they were urgent, demanding with loud cries that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate decided that their demand should be granted. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, and for whom they asked. But he delivered Jesus over to their will. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. The churchly court had spoken. Now it was time for the state to speak. The Jewish leaders hauled Jesus off to Pilate. Charge after charge they lay against him, but Pilate smells a rat. There's something off about this whole affair. He gets little enough out of the man himself. You have said so. Pilate was no man of mercy, but he understood that this was gross injustice. He said, "I find no guilt in this man. He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea and from Galilee even to this place," the crowds cried. Galilee gave him the out he needed. No, not my problem then, Pilate thought, and shipped Jesus over to Herod, who happened to be in town for the big festival. Herod's delight in seeing Jesus turned sour when our Lord didn't do a circus trick or even talk. He stood there sad and silent. So the mockery continued. "He thinks he's a king," Herod said. "So let's dress him up pretty and send him back." The odd thing is that Jesus brings reconciliation even between his enemies. Pilate and Herod became good friends that very day. When the apparently crazy king arrived back at his doorstep, Pilate was not amused. Again, the people demanded death. He pointed out that there was no reason for that. "I did not find this man guilty," he says. "Neither did Herod." Pilate's solution was to appease the crowds with a bit of blood, but not enough to kill. He said, "I will therefore punish and release him." The Jewish leaders were having none of that. They demanded instead that Pilate exchange prisoners, that he take Jesus and give them Barabbas, a murderer. The innocent for the guilty. the righteous for the unjust, the son of a father, which is what Barabbas means, for the son of the Father. Their crucify, crucify shouts prevailed. Neither for the first nor for the last time did the government fail of its responsibility to justice due to pressure. But here is divine justice. Different from what anyone would have ever imagined, Jesus stands silent against all the accusations, for he is prepared for them all to be true. He will bear in his body the sins of all. In fact, he will be made sin upon the tree, cursed and damned, in order to free from sin, from curse, from damnation, the fallen race of man. He delivered Jesus over to their will, yes, but it was also the will of his Father, as his prayer in the garden revealed.